Hello, my name is Akalushi Muthukumarala. I was hired at Middlesex in August, and I'm in the biology department. I'm the program coordinator, and I also do teach introductory biology.
Hello, I'm Frank Stellabote. I've been at Middlesex since 2014, and I'm the program coordinator for biotechnology and for biochemistry studies.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lin Lin. I'm a professor and the program coordinator of 10 different programs here at Middlesex Community College. I teach engineering, computer science, and information systems classes.
Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Leone. I'm a math faculty. I've been at Middlesex since 2005, and I teach primarily college algebra, intermediate algebra, and statistics.
Hi everyone, Kimberly Thomas. I'm a professor of chemistry. I've been here since 2008. Would you like me to begin? So I'll read the questions first. I'll list them and then go back. Briefly discuss your academic background and how you became interested in your field. I'm going to start with the end of it first. We were a geeky family, so I sort of had 50% geekdom and 50% art. My dad taught science for about 40 years, and so we always had critters, skeletons, all sorts of strange things, because he worked in a school system that had no money. So during the summer, the animals had to be cared for, and he had to transport skeletons, and he did so in the passenger side of his Opel Manta, which was not pretty. I had no friends that summer. So I always knew I leaned toward a science. I ended up getting a bachelor's degree in biology and just bumbled. And I'll revisit that later, but I got a bachelor's in biology from Southern Connecticut State University. Didn't have very good advising, not my advisor's fault. Question 2, what majors should a student decide to transfer do you think are most related to your program of study? That I found a little bit tricky because sciences are so interdisciplinary now. But in general, I would say a major in chemistry, biochemistry, or biology. They so overlap that I think anything would kind of lead you. Even though I ended up in chemistry, my bachelor's is in biology, so that kind of shows you can end up anywhere. And I think as you go through your coursework, whatever it is, just be open to anything that might jump out, that might lead you along a path. Question 3, what career options do you think students might pursue with a degree in your academic area with an associate's degree or with a bachelor's degree? An associate's degree, I would say, lab technicians are in short supply, anybody with good lab skills, and that's one of the things that I try to really emphasize in my chemistry courses, because if you've got good lab sense, good lab hygiene, they will train you in specifics once you get into a position. A bachelor's also perhaps a technician position, but sometimes you're sort of higher up on the tier once you get into a job setting. And there are still employers that will do tuition remission, so you might get reimbursed if you continue your education. Question 4, what do you see as a possible career path with this degree? I think probably a master's degree would give the most flexibility, probably in any of the sciences, mainly because you're a little bit further up, that you can have a little bit of authoritative presence and maybe convey more capability and more flexibility, but you're still not overly specialized. So I think that's kind of the middle ground, at least currently. So it gives you the most flexibility, whether you want to do a research position, routine testing, or even a non-industry position, teaching or going into academia. The last question, what recommendations do you have for students considering earning a degree in your area? I guess the most important thing, if I could look at my 19-year-old self, I would say, wow, your skin looks great. No, I wouldn't. I would say that, but I would say, try to make use of every opportunity. When I don't mean to sound ancient, but we really didn't have a lot of internships, not a lot of sort of on-the-job opportunities. So a lot of us said, well, I want to major in biology, not really knowing what that meant. And I can't overstate internships, and I know other folks are going to speak about that. We have so many students who get hired permanently from internships. But what it also does is it sort of will give you something to catch, am I okay? Give you something to hook onto. Oh, I'm interested in that. I never thought I would be. I never thought I would be working in chemistry. I didn't find it terribly applicable or interesting when I was taking the courses. And that's a shame, because the sciences, we have to pretend this is physics, this is biology, this is chemistry. And you find that everything's mishmashed when you sort of get outside of that, segregation of courses. So take advantage of that. Try to just be open to anything unexpected. If something strikes you as interesting, follow it. If you get an opportunity, and I think the most important thing probably in life in general is to stay curious and just constantly try new things, learn new things, crash and burn. You will, after you recover from that, you will take something from it with you. And I guess that's basically it. I'll pass it along to Sarah.
Thank you. So what brought me into this field, from high school, I knew that I wanted to be a math teacher. Math was always my strength. And so I went to school. I went to SUNY Albany in New York. And so I was a math major with a secondary education minor. So I always went knowing that that's what I was going to do. But there were definitely times in my education that I considered maybe doing just pure mathematics or math or being an actuary, things like that. But ultimately I knew that teaching math was really right for me. So that's what brought me into the field. And so I'm just going to kind of combine some of those questions, but things that you can go into. I think it's really important when you're taking math classes, or if you're considering being a math major, to realize that the skills that you're learning in those classes makes you so valuable to so many different fields. So you don't want to limit yourself and think, oh, I can only be in a math field, because you are so valuable to employers, because they know that you are a good problem solver and critical thinker. You can follow really intricate set of directions, things like that make you so valuable. So you don't want to limit it and think I can only be a math teacher or be a purely mathematic major. But there are tons of things. You could go into applied math. You can go into actuarial science, data science. I mean, right now the world is driven on data and making decisions from data, and that all stems from a mathematical thinking. So just keeping in mind that being a math major makes you so valuable to everyone. I have a couple of close friends. One of my close friends is a pediatrician, and she was a math major in college and then went to medical school. I also know my brother-in-law is a dentist. He was a math major with me at SUNY Albany. So all of these things that, math just teaches you such a broad gives you a broad skill set that you're really valuable. Law school is another big thing that a lot of math majors go on to. So any STEM fields, statistics, things like that, or your math background will definitely contribute to that. So I kind of talked about careers and options there. The recommendations, I talked to my math department and got some feedback from them on what recommendations do they also have. And a couple of things come up. One is to make sure when you're taking math classes you want to not just scrape by. If you don't earn at least a C, consider maybe retaking it so that you have a strong background, so you put yourself in good position to be successful in the future. Something that helped me in college so much, and I can't say enough about, is study groups. Meeting with people to talk about mathematics is helpful no matter if you are the strongest person in that study group or if you perceive yourself to be the weakest, which is not always, what we perceive is not always true. But you both have so much to gain from talking about mathematics and explaining it, both the person explaining it, the person listening to it. So there's so much to gain from working with people. And the other thing I want to mention about math classes is to really be patient with yourself. The math, it doesn't necessarily click when you're in the classroom. Not all the learning happens when you're in the classroom. It takes you kind of going home, thinking about it, mulling it over. I can remember having dreams about math when I was taking those courses, and things pop into your head and the light bulb comes on at the least expected time. So you have to have patience with yourself to let that happen and to not get discouraged when it doesn't come right away. Thank you.
That's good advice.
My academic background is in electrical engineering. After graduating with my PhD degree from UConn, I worked at the United Technologies Research Center as a senior engineer. Actually, Peter also worked there. We were colleagues at the time. You can come over to join us if you want. Okay.
Sure.
I began my teaching career in 2008, and I taught courses in engineering science, computer science, information systems, and so on. I became interested in engineering and technology in general is because I grew up in an institute that specializes in communication, wireless communication products. And my dad also worked there as a principal engineer. So my goal was to make a positive impact on society with my expertise. So that's my goal. That's why I selected electrical engineering. So that's my academic background and how I became interested. The second question is, what majors should a student decide to transfer do you think are most related to my program of study? Like I mentioned before, I'm a program coordinator of about 10 programs, associate degree programs and certificate programs at Middlesex, including engineering science, computer science studies, technology studies, and the computer information technology and management information systems. So if you are not currently in one of those programs and decide to transfer to one of those, then I would really suggest that you come to talk to me, and so we can discuss your intention and what is the best major you can transfer to. Also, besides transferring to another degree, you can also add a second program. The program can be either an associate degree or a certificate. For example, we also offer IT help desk certificate, software developer certificate, and the communications networking certificate. So you can consider one of those as well. So what career options do you think students may pursue with a degree in your area, with an associate degree and with a bachelor's degree? So generally, last panel discussion, I focused on engineering. I figured this time I'm going to focus on IT, because IT is such a massive field with many areas. For example, we have multimedia that you're working on, Patrick. Then we have web technologies, we have network operations, we have system analysis, or we have security analysis, we have application development, database administration, and so on and so forth. If you have associate degree, sometimes with professional certifications, for example, from Cisco, CompTIA, or Microsoft, Google, Amazon, then that will get you into the door of IT, field. You may, if you have a passion about, if you have skills in computer technology and have a passion or interest in building a career, I think you might want to consider IT, IT professional or IT specialist. So. With an associate degree and some of the professional certifications, you might be able to do some entry-level positions of basic programming, basic network, or help desk, and user support or network support. And some very experienced individuals might get a job of systems administration or even network engineer. If you look at the film on demand, they actually have some people there talking about what they can do with a career, with associate degree, in IT. So I would highly recommend you go look at the films on demand if you have access to it. But most of the IT jobs, for most of the IT jobs, you're expected to have a bachelor's degree. Because the additional coursework will help you develop advanced skills in IT area in general. Also, even the general studies, the additional general studies coursework will help you develop your critical thinking skills or communication skills or analytical skills. So those will add to your skill set. So that's number 3. Number 4, what do you see as a possible career path? So, like I mentioned, IT is a very big field, and I do think that small organizations might give you better opportunities. Maybe one day you're doing trainings on some technologies. Another day you might be doing some programming assistance. The other day you might be doing network support. So you kind of are forced into knowing the whole company's project and into this strategic role, and then it's better for your career choice. Okay, so and then also the IT actually provide the performance-based advancement. So you can, doesn't matter you have a higher degree, as long as you can provide a technology solution, then you can differentiate yourself from others. Also, it's relatively easier to transfer from one area to another area without starting over from scratch. Last one, what recommendations? I would think that you want to, if you are considering an IT career, you might want to get as much hands-on experience as possible, and also start to build your network of professional contacts. Like other the previous speakers mentioned, that internship is a good opportunity. You'll be amazed by how much you can learn in a real work environment. Analytical skill is important. You need that to be able to understand the company's need, client's need, and try to come up with a strategy or solution. Last but not least is your communication skills. You will have to be able to interact with users or collaborate with your coworkers. So communication skills is critical in getting your job done. So that's thank you.
Okay. Sorry I'm late, everyone. My academic background, I'm going to key off something Lynn just said about the networking. Part of the reason I applied here at Middlesex is I used to work with Lynn at United Technologies Research Centre, so I've known Lynn for quite a while, and she's always said how much she enjoys working here, so I thought it'd be a nice opportunity to come here. So definitely work on that networking, it's worthwhile. So my academic background, I have a bachelor's and master's degree in electrical engineering, and I did a PhD in, it's called systems engineering, that's control systems engineering, which is sort of a specialised part of electrical, also mechanical sometimes as well. As Lynn has mostly been talking about the IT side, I'll talk about the engineering piece. So the majors, there's the engineering science is the main one I'd promote there. There's a lot of interesting places that can take you. I'm just going to move on to the career options. I'm going to slightly contradict something Lynn said just now, only slightly. So what is happening in the job market at the moment is employers are finding it hard to get people they need. So whereas it used to be that you had to have a bachelor's degree in computer science in order to get into, say, a software engineering position, now they're relaxing those conditions. And it used to be that the only relaxation was it didn't have to be a bachelor's in computer science, it could be in anything, but now they're even rolling it back a little bit more. And provided you've got an interest and at least some skill in the area, then there's the possibility is there. So where I've seen people move from an associate's degree into other things is there's two tracks I can think of. The main one I've seen is a lot of companies have a function called quality assurance, right, where they need to make sure that the products they're building are safe, meet what the customer wants, and just generally do what the company wants the product to do. And oftentimes you don't need that higher level bachelor's or other level of training to do that. On the other side, though, it does give you deep insight into what the company that you're working for needs to produce. And if you work on that and you learn about it, then it gives you a way to not only move forward in the company, but then see whether you want to move on to a bachelor's degree or something else, right? Which is a nice thing. And the people I'm thinking of started off as quality assurance and testing, and then they moved into sort of managing that. And then I've seen two paths. One path is the idea of it's called product management, where you're working with the company and the engineering developers. You're working with the client, the customer, to try and figure out what the product does now and what it can do better later on. And then the other piece is I've seen people move, because you're often working closely with developers in QA, I've actually seen people move from QA into development, right? So there's a lot of options in that sort of area. And then the last question there, the recommendations. I would suggest in whatever you do, tinker, play with it, look at it outside of the classroom, right? That's part of the reason why we have the tech centre here on campus, is so that you can come in and play with some of the technology that's available outside of the class, just for your own interest. And I'm not saying I'm particularly interested in engineering, but I think that applies to just about anything. You tinker with the ideas, but outside of the more formal classroom setting. Okay, that's about all. Thank you.
Thanks. So I'm Frank Stellabote. I went to Trinity College in Hartford as an undergrad, and I don't know if many of you know this, but super glue was invented by accident on that campus, ethyl cyanoacrylate. And so I got a job, I did an internship at a chemical company when I was an undergrad called Loctite. And I did do product development. So we had this product that I helped, I drew the pictures for the patent, and what I did was I don't know if any of you have ever played bingo, and they have the ink dauber. It's made by a company called Dab-O-Matic. And I took that dauber and I put like a Goo Gone-like substance in there, and I could still see the product at Loctite, at Lowe's on the shelf. And I got $100 for that, so that was good. And you know, I worked in a cube, and I thought, you know, this is not really. I'm not such a corporate type of guy, you know. I don't think I would fit in. So I decided to go to get a PhD after I graduated from Trinity, and I went to Wesleyan for that, and I was there, and I published research in the field of developmental biology, and that's the research I do now. I study hearing. But I liked that experience that I got when I was an undergrad. And I still have connections through that, and I have, through my position in my advisory board here at Middlesex, I have developed a lot of connections now to local companies, because I'm going to freestyle this a little bit, getting to the majors question. I'm in charge of only 3 majors. 2 of them are biotech majors, and I feel privileged because I have sort of a biotech experience, and then Akalushi next to me has a pharma experience, and those are a little different, but maybe she'll speak about that. So I'm in charge of 2 biotech degrees. One is a certificate program, and the other is an associate's degree program. And those programs are for people that want to use that to get a career, the biotech programs. Then there's also a biochemistry studies TAP degree. Does anyone know what TAP is? Question for the audience. Maybe? Anyone know what TAP? Do you know what TAP is?
Transfer articulation policy.
Transfer articulation policy, okay? Very good. So that if a degree says TAP on it, that means that Connecticut State has made an agreement, Connecticut State Community College System has made an agreement with the state universities that the credits you earn in that degree have to transfer to the state universities. And by state universities, I mean Central, Eastern, Western, and Southern, not UConn. Though there are programs for UConn if that's what you're interested in going to. So I have 1 degree, which is called Biochemistry Studies, which is one of those TAP degrees. So if you complete that, if you survive biochemistry studies, and occasionally people do, you can transfer all those degrees to a degree at the state universities. And then Akalushi to my right is in charge of biology studies, TAP. Okay? And I was looking at my phone a little earlier. My mother's watching, so she's going to probably be pissed off about that. But the reason I was doing that, Mom, is because I was getting a list of where my students are working right now. So I have, in that biotech degree, you could get a job as a lab tech, which is what Professor Thomas was talking about. So I have 2 students in full-time positions at Jackson Laboratories now, and they started as interns. I have 1 student at SEMA4, which is a genomics company. They used to do our COVID-19 testing on campus. And then I had 1 student that was at ABCAM in Branford. Many of you may not know this, but Branford, New Haven is the 2nd biggest biotech cluster in New England, second only to Boston. And I have 2 students. One is the director of biotechnology at Brand New, which is in Meriden. And I have 2 students there now. And then I couldn't find the other, I do have other students at other locations. Farmington has a few biotech startups. So what's great about that is that sometimes students work in these companies and earn their degree. So that's a good thing to do. Okay, and then I have the last question. What recommendations do you have for a student considering earning a degree in your area? Well, I'm going to tell you what I tell all my students when they get jobs, when they're trying to get jobs. And I have a 3-step thing. One thing you should know, most jobs are not advertised. This job that I have right here, I got it, it was never advertised, okay? I got it from a friend. And every other job I've ever gotten has been that way, okay? So step 1, clean your digital profile. Clean it. Go on Facebook. I used to have dreadlocks to my waist. there are pictures of me on the internet you wouldn't believe. They're gone.
I'm going to have to find
Not all of them.
Okay? Second, get out there. Okay, get out there. You got to get your butt up, out, meet people. On April 14th, there's a bioscience career fair from 12 to 5 p.m. at Jackson Labs, and I'm one of the people helping to organize that. Okay? Sign up, go, meet people. 3 people from Middlesex have gotten jobs from that. And I said 3 things. There was a third thing. Third thing, open up an Excel document, keep a list of contacts. Keep a list of contacts. Because that's how you get a job. That's how I got this job. Okay, and that's it. And please get into contact with me. I'd like to have more students at this bioscience career fair. I'm going to send out emails. I don't like to do them too early because my memory sucks. I can only imagine like what things you get thrown at you left and right. So, thanks.
So again, I'm Akalushi. I came here from Sri Lanka, so I see another perspective of the whole story. And my whole career and whole life, I always wanted to be a doctor. But unfortunately, when I came here as an international student, I realized very soon that I was not eligible for any loans. So then, after my bachelor's, I had to decide what route am I going to take. So I took the biology route of research, and I thought I'll end up somewhere. And in the beginning of my career, actually, I was in nonprofit. I worked for Dana-Farber. I think I got a lot of experience, non-corporate, non-profit, so it was a much better environment for a student right out of college because you didn't have the pharma or the biotech stress. So it was a very good foundation for me to learn many, many techniques. So I bagged a lot of techniques there. And then, of course, I always wanted to see what pharma is about. The finances are very good in pharma, and also sometimes you have the money that they give you to try out different things, the best of equipment, the techniques, so I wanted to try that. But I always wanted to give back, so that's why I really wanted to go to medical school. But I knew another way I could give back is helping students, to find what they really want to do. So when I joined pharma, at the same time I became an adjunct professor in biology, and I've been doing that since 2003. So I was in pharma for 15 years, and throughout that time I was also an adjunct professor. So then I changed careers and I became a full-time professor here. And that's my whole career. I started having dreams of something but ended up, doing something else. So I want to emphasize that, if you really like something, like biology, that you can do many things with a degree like that. But there are some fundamental things that you need to do. One thing is you really need to know your foundation. So that's why the early classes that you do in Gen Bio, Gen Chemistry, those are very important because then you have a solid foundation. And then I really did go into neurobiology as undergraduate. And also one thing I want to tell my students, and I always do, is learn as many techniques as possible. It could be simple microscopy, simple pipetting. Those things come in handy because just like Frank said, you keep an Excel sheet of your contacts. You do keep an Excel sheet of your techniques as well. Because sometimes it would be like that one catchphrase in a job interview that you will be like, oh, I did that, I have some kind of knowledge in that area. So you can talk about it in an interview so you remember that you did it. And the other thing I feel that that helped me to get into pharma is I never let go any opportunity that came my way. Maybe because I came from Sri Lanka and we didn't have a lot of opportunities, So whenever I saw an opportunity, I grabbed it. You know, sometimes it could be washing dishes in a lab environment and being the glass washer, but still, you know, it was the contacts I made. And also, I reached out to a lot of professors during my time as an undergraduate. So sometimes they never had paid internships, but they still needed somebody to help in the lab. So sometimes students think, you know, if it's not paid, you know, maybe that's not the best route to go. But sometimes volunteering, you know, you learn a lot of things. So try to keep an open mind. You know, paid internships are good, but sometimes, you know, you can learn a lot with non-paid internships as well. So in terms of career, since I have the best of both worlds, I worked in nonprofit, I did work in pharma. I want to tell biology majors, you know, there is so much opportunity. So I saw many vet tech students who really wanted to be working in a veterinary hospital. When they did have those opportunities, they did come to pharma, because in pharma, if you have animal testing, there are so many opportunities to do exactly vet tech work, you know, for better money. And also I saw students who really loved manufacturing, you know, but they joined pharma because they could work in the factories where they produce the drugs, you know. I saw students who loved public speaking and who loved interacting with people, you know, a lot of strong people skills. And there is opportunity in the pharma too, because you can enter with your biology knowledge, but you can go up in the ranks through management, to PR. So there are so many opportunities that students really don't think. If I'm stuck in biology, what do I do? Do I go into research, or do I become a lab rat, you know? But there are so many different opportunities. So I want students to think that learn the basics, you know, gather as many skills as you can, and always keep your network. You know, you have to have that strong network. Even your first freshman biology professor could come in handy, you know. And also never let go an opportunity, even if it's very, very small.
Does anyone have any questions for our panelists?
I don't have a specific question, but I just thank you guys for sharing your experience and education with us, because I am a student in Professor Thomas's Kim 1, and I have my Master's of Public Health. However, it didn't allot me the things that I actually wanted to do from a skills perspective. So that's why I'm back here in college doing some undergraduate work. I really love science. My ultimate goal previously, and still kind of now, is to become a provider in some way, PA, doctor, in that sort of sense. But I really appreciate it, because the skills aspect, that's what I started to realize for myself, is that I didn't really have those sort of skills. I've always had jobs, but they didn't provide the skills needed to get in, or to break into sort of biotechnology sort of career paths, which is what I'm sort of interested in as well. But Professor Thomas has been a light, personally,
I pay him to say that.
It's on tape.
And just, I'm about to be 34, but I've had a great, you know, career span thus far, but it just opened up some more, you know, new worlds to myself. And what you just said about, you know, being in pharma, I think a lot of students in general, no matter the age, we do think of one set perspective and working in that role, but you start to, once you're in a company and you're doing that particular thing, it opens up a lot more, because there's a lot of communication in those roles that are needed, whether it's from that manufacturer or actually talking about or being in front of people. So that's what I'm basically have explored since having my Master's of Public Health as well. So thank you.
If I could piggyback on Akalushi's point, because that was really excellent. Am I loud enough without that? Probably not. Probably not for Patrick, Kevin, Rob. I'm kidding. You know, what I didn't mention is how I got from biology to chemistry, and it's a boring story, but in a nutshell, I saw myself working in an area of biology that really was so tiny that it wasn't possible. So I fell into chemistry jobs. And I'm like, this is interesting. It wasn't like this in school. And so nothing that you do is ever wasted. What you pull on and you never expect, you're pulling on all your public health background, your communication skills, all of that great smile. You know, it helps in so many ways. But Akalushi brought up a point because you're seeing people who ended up in academia. I mean, I had industry experience, and I worked with people who did exactly what Akalushi is talking about. Maybe they did research for X number of years. I worked at one company that worked with really toxic chemicals. So as people segued, maybe they were there 15 years, they wanted to start a family. You know, the reality is if you work in a science, maybe, you know, you don't want to be around the chemicals. So they went into sales or technical service, and that is, you're pulling in all that technical knowledge, but those interpersonal skills, the communication skills are so important, the organizational skills. And I saw on your card, actuarial science. I cannot tell you the number of people, that's not at all chemistry related, that I've bumped into that are now going into actuarial science because there's a scarcity of people in that field. So there are things you just find yourself, sometimes you truly bumble into what you're meant to do. And I think when I got out of college, it was a little more common for people to do that. And maybe now it's because there's so much student debt. And you have that pressure of, oh my God, I got my degree, I have to get a job and pay off this debt. And it was more common, I think, for people to go, and now what? And so the things, the experimental aspect and making, you know, use of every opportunity, things you never thought you'd be doing, and the volunteer work, and just doing things that, you know, you can do. I actually had a student, and then I'll stop talking, who took a chemistry course. Our course wouldn't fit in her schedule, so she took it at Central. And she was walking by a professor's lab and just saw somebody tinkering and walked in and started chatting. And she got a PhD in molecular biology from that. She didn't even know she was interested in it. Sorry.
All right, thank you all for participating in this panel.
Thank you.